All right, welcome back to the Fat Girl Fitness Friday show. We have a special guest with us here today. His name is Wes Knight, and he is the host of the Creating Space podcast. We're so happy he's here today. I'm Steph Hendel, and I am one part of Fat Girl Fitness. I am a holistic, certified health coach, nutritionist, personal trainer, and a mindset and emotional breakthrough expert. This is my partner, Lauren.
I'm Lauren Clayton. I have a master's in psychology and nutrition. I'm an integrative health practitioner, health coach, certified yoga teacher, and just fucking awesome. So is Steph, right? And together we are Fat Girl Fitness. FATT stands for psychology, health, attitude, training, and transformation. We have to do the hands with the transformation.
There's a big hand signal for that.
And today we're going to talk about facing our fears and breaking through our fears. And we have the just optimal guest for that, which is Wes Knight. Wes, tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into the topic.
First of all, how do I even follow up that in the introduction from YouTube? I'm just a retired athlete trying to figure out life post soccer career. To introduce you to me, I had a 7-year professional soccer career where I was the prototypical athlete. Everything that you hear about athletes for all intents and purposes is pretty much true probably. And then I got cracked wide open after an injury, and I got pushed into this self-discovery journey, and I become a mindset junkie. And so my Creating Space podcast is a byproduct of that, and to be welcomed on to this show is awesome because hopefully that means that whatever it is that I'm doing is working.
It's definitely working. I'm a podcast junkie, and I think that what your podcast is like one of the most authentic, real, vibration and energy from it is coming from such a real, authentic place. I love it. It really do. And you have Mindset Monday, which is a great way to start your week. Just get on that if nothing else, and then you air your other one on Thursday, the Creating Space. But they're both under the same entity, Creating Space, correct?
Absolutely. So the Mindset Monday portion is just a solo 1v1 intentional based conversation with the listeners. So when you speak about authenticity, that's probably the most valuable compliment that anyone can pay me, because I literally ask the universe what it is that I'm supposed to write about each Monday, and I just listen, and I listen for what the universe is putting in my path, the messengers, which are the people that are around me, and anything that I can find consistency in, I believe to be what it is that I'm supposed to talk about. And because I'm connected to that topic, I can access my authentic message, my authentic universal energy to kind of be inside and channel that message. So that's what Monday's all about. Today was about choice and trust, which I learned from the incredible Lululemon experience that I had this past weekend. And filming that documentary was awesome. And then Thursdays is the interview portion, and that's where I access these stories from other influential people in society that kind of tell their journey, and we can tap into their mindsets, which have helped push them to greatness. So there's two facets of the podcast right now, but we're working to scale it, and it's growing every single day, which is exciting.
I love it.
We want to really encourage anybody who's watching this show to please find Wes and his podcast and start listening to it. We're always providing you with any resources that can help you live a healthier, happier life, and this is one of them. Like Lauren said, start your Monday off with Mindset Monday. Why not? That's a winning way to go. And I also have to say too that Lauren is like my podcast guide. So for her to she said, Steph, Wes Knight, you got to check it out. And her recommendations are always on point, and it's been great. But Wes, can you let us know where we are seeing, what's the background here? Where are you joining us from?
So check it out. This is Charlotte, North Carolina. The massive buildings you're seeing there, the Bank of America building. So Charlotte is the second leading banking industry in the United States, and I think one of the biggest in the world, but second behind New York City, obviously a big city. So you're checking out a little bit of the skyscape here. Just behind me, this brick building, that's Google Fiber.
Oh, nice.
Which is really cool. They were planted right in the middle of the city. And so what you're checking out, if you could see past this building here, you'd be able to see Bank of America Stadium, which is where the Panthers play. But we're kind of blocked. But anyways, this is Charlotte, North Carolina. This is home.
Awesome.
Cool.
So tell us more about what you learned this week in terms of fear, like what fear actually is.
And also, for anybody who doesn't have the context of where you went, I know Lauren and I were familiar with it, but this might be something other people have never even heard of. Can you tell us what it was that you went to?
Yeah, okay. So Lululemon every year has what's called the hike event. And what the hike event is where they select, and it's normally by region. So I'm in the Southeast region, so they select 22 what they call heroes, which are people that have exhibited the ability to jump the tracks of their fear, right? So people who are in their community exhibiting like mindfulness and health and wellness, all of the values that are underneath the umbrella of what Lululemon represents, right? And so there were like 65 individuals that were nominated, and they whittled it down to 22 people. And I was really fortunate to get accepted, and even bigger than that, there were 2 focal points in the documentary, and I got selected to be one of the focal points. So they kind of really delved into my story a little bit deeper. But I just have to share with you guys and with your listeners, like, if you're not taking a second to stop and be grateful for the opportunities that are right in front of your face, you're losing the opportunity to like access happiness, which is all around you at all times. So just being called to this event, which was taking place in Chattanooga, Tennessee, which I knew nothing about really, other than that it was in Tennessee. Getting the opportunity to do that, join 21 other people who are making real fucking waves in the community in a positive way was awesome, and it was a real valuable experience. And I'm sure we'll delve more into it, but just to get the opportunity to be involved, I'm super grateful for it.
Yes.
Huge.
Love it. And so you mentioned this on your this last episode of Motivation Monday, or Mindset Monday, excuse me. So, but a lot of the reoccurring theme was facing your fears and breaking through them. So want to get into a little bit of that?
Yeah, let's talk about that. So immediately Lululemon brought us in, and the leaders there were, the idea was obvious, the intent was obviously to put us in this uncomfortable situation all the time, right? So you had to be vulnerable, you had to step outside of your comfort, and you had to face your fear. And that, their challenges to us came in all, it like manifested itself in all different types of challenges, right? Like there were, to give you a couple examples, we had to take a 2-mile hike completely silent. You couldn't talk to anyone. 30-something individuals with heroes and leaders involved, and we're all just hiking along these trails, passing people completely silent. I was thinking the individuals that were passing us were probably thinking we were some cult. It was hyper silent, and what you were dealing with was yourself. Mm-hmm. And because you were in nature, you were hyper aware, and you just had to become aware of what was coming up, what your thoughts were, where your inner critic came up, and how you were kind of having a conversation with yourself. And then there were other challenges like hang gliding, which I'll never do again.
Listen to the podcast for the details on that.
That was good. That was very entertaining.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wes.
Listen, I mean, from the moment that the cord snapped from the prop plane that pulled us up, like, I was terrified, and I could not stop panicking the entire time. Anytime the hang glider would like move the hang glider, I felt like we were going to die. And I'll never, I picked that up and I put that experience down to never be seen again. But what it was just like, okay, here's your limit, here's your boundary, and what are you going to do when you get there? Mm-hmm. You know, your boundary is going to push you to a place where you're not comfortable, you're not safe, and you're not aware. Because it's fight or flight, right? You get faced with 2 decisions. Either I'm going to do this or I'm not. And what they forced you to do was start to choose to become present in that moment and then take the power back from the fear. Right? So specifically, I was watching this girl this extremely strong kickboxing instructor from Atlanta, tatted up, super hardcore, like the model of the idea of a strength for an athletic woman, right? And I watched her break over the side of this mountain, trying to rappel down the mountain. I saw her crumble in face of fear. But in the same moment, in like this instant, I watched her pick herself up, metaphorically, and face it and just take one step. And the tears that were rolling down her face, like, they dried, and she took another step. And it was just a weekend full of finding your boundary, feeling uncomfortable, becoming comfortable with the discomfort, and then pushing that boundary a little bit further. And what a wicked, wild weekend it was, man. It was really cool.
I love that. And I mean, that's where the growth happens. Right. I mean, the whole quote, growth happens outside of your comfort zone, or nothing happens in your comfort zone. It's so true. And I tell people the most dangerous place to be is not when you're having a rough time or you're hitting rock bottom, because that's where the motivation happens or something. It's when you're in that comfort zone, you're just on autopilot doing your thing. Oh, I don't like doing that, or, and you just stay in that little bubble. That's where the most toxic, energy can be created. So it's amazing that you had all those breakthroughs. And I was kind of just, so before we started recording, I was kind of joking with you, because also on your podcast you mentioned that, you had this kind of energy around women where you let them in a little bit, but not all the way, and you had to be like in control of the situation, and you have a lot of things around control. So we first talked to Wes maybe a week or two ago on the phone. And he's like, hey, what are you guys up to? And we're like, oh, we just finished our goals. And he was like, so, what's your goals? What about, like, completely controlling, like, he was all of a sudden Tony Robbins Jr. or something, like, just all up in our, we're like, nice to meet you. You're like, tell us our goals. It's like you just had to know. It was just like, and then I asked you what your goals were, and you're like, oh, well, and then it was just very much like, let me, like, dominate. And I think it maybe had to do with us being women, or, but I just thought that was really interesting, because your demeanor is a lot different now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that is definitely something that I had to face, this sense of control, right? And with two very attractive women, and they're interested in you, right? You want to give off this good energy. You want them to be compelled by who you are, and it's not just that. I mean, it's control of all situations. If I can keep things within my realm of expectation, I can have what I seem to have thought was control, but it's all perceived control, right? And a lot of times when you put yourself in a box and you remain in the box, you inhibit growth, like you were talking about. And that's what I really realized this weekend, is because I will not let romantic situations come closer than arm's length distance, that I'm not growing, and that I'm not becoming more comfortable being vulnerable, typically with women, right? Like, there's something so intimate about, first of all, like consistently engaging eye contact, like peering into the eyes of a woman.
What do your eyes look like? You're wearing sunglasses.
What's that?
Nothing. You're wearing sunglasses.
Lauren's in super coach mode right now.
I'm sorry. Keep going.
Yeah, I guess right now, like, I can even manage the amounts of connection even by sunglasses, right? But I realized that subtle things like eye contact, like the distance between myself and a woman, right? Like, it was all based upon the level of comfort that I felt. And I wasn't okay with pushing myself to do things that I wasn't comfortable with. And this weekend, when I became aware of it, I forced myself to stay in that and see what happened once I was in that level of discomfort. And what happened was, just like you said, growth. And I had this beautiful soul, this lovely woman who's running one of the cooler outdoor venues in Miami, and super mindful, super aware, and she picked up on my energy, right? She came and sat down beside me, and she just asked me, like, I see you, what's up? I see something that's going through your mind. And I'm like, you know what? I realized that I have this hyper masculine bit of armor that I grew at being an athlete, that I don't know what to deal, how to deal when that armor is gone, and I'm vulnerable all the time here. And I don't exist well in this space, and my inner critic is super damaging right now, and I'm judging myself a lot. And I like the fact that I'm vulnerable in certain areas of my life, but this one block, vulnerability with women and being perceived as vulnerable with a woman is sticky for me right now. And she said to me, you just have to, all these belief systems, you have to deconstruct them. You have to find the origin and figure out what they're really about. And when I broke it down, I realized that my level of trust and comfort with vulnerability has been constructed through the locker room, through talk like of guys not really talking about feelings, or guys not really talking about what's so important about connection with a female. It's only about the physical aspect of it, right? And that was really by no construction of my own. And once I had this aha moment to deconstruct it, then I could choose how I constructed it moving forward, and have made this agreement with myself that I'm gonna force myself to be vulnerable, specifically with women, with all people. I do it very well with my podcast, but specifically with women, I need to push myself to a point now where I can exist in that space a little bit longer. And so, I mean, we're a day and a half into that agreement, so we'll see what happens. Ask me in a couple of months, I guess.
Well, look what you've attracted. You've attracted an interview with...
right. An opportunity to break through again, which is epic.
Yeah.
I think that it is the coolest, most transformative space ever when you dig into something like that. Like, when you bring up something and you allow yourself to be so vulnerable to the point where you're just like, forget it. Like, it's all on the table now. I'm not hiding anything anymore. Like, you guys get it all. Here it is. And at that point, that's where you can just get in there and you can start saying, like, well, is that actually true? Or, like, is it actually real? All these things I've heard. And I don't know about you, but I find it, like, crazy mind-blowing when I look back at all the things that taught me over time, like when I was a child, media, people I was around, things like that, and what they spoke really strongly about became my truth.
We accepted it, right?
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
And it's like these days, my whole life is like a really fun space of just something comes up and I say, wait a second, is that true? And then it's like, no, not at all. So you push it out the window and you become a higher version of yourself.
Or you create space, right?
Create that space.
Yeah, you just create the void, and then you get to choose what enters that void, right?
Yes.
How do you two exist with vulnerability with men? Is that an issue for either of you?
I think it has been.
She's like,
well, first of all, thank you for thank you for saying that, because I think a lot of men have that experience, Wes.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that, because it's so real and profound, and a lot of men never get past that point. So good work, and thank you for sharing that with us. But yeah, we have like Steph and I have talked about this on our show, but also just in life about like being heard, and then just being like little pretty whatever, and you just sit back and like you never get to be heard. And so we've attracted, I think, men in situations where we're not heard or respected or taken care of in any way, really. And so having to just hit the reset button and be like, what's that about? And that's been a really big thing for me recently, like big time in my personal life. Is just like, I no longer allow anyone in my space that isn't as, caring and loving and generous and all those things as I am, because I've always been the one, giving. But
yeah, and a big part of that too, because Lauren and I, we coach each other, which is really fun. Like every Friday we get together and we go over our goals in relationships and wealth and health and everything in lifestyle. So when something comes up, we'll say, oh my gosh, I see something here, let's get to the bottom of this. And something that came up for us a lot when we started seeing this pattern of being around men, and that kind of being an intimidating thing in certain situations with certain like alpha male, type figures, we started to see that it was clear what was going on, but the truth was that within ourselves, it was healing that piece of just saying, hey, I'm good enough. I am beautiful. I am strong. I am all these amazing things, and just knowing that at the core, instead of in the past it being like, I hope somebody gives me that value.
So tell me this. This is a great question, and I'm sure some of the lads watching your show, for obvious reasons, want to ask a similar question that I want to ask, right? Like, there's something so valuable about the physical attraction between a male and a female, right? But the intimate attraction is, and the emotional attraction is where the fire is, right? What do you two women, as obviously gorgeous human beings, how do you perceive a male like myself who's really trying to become comfortable being vulnerable and kind of sensitive and has a softer side that he wants to explore? When you see a guy like that in a bar or at the gym or have a conversation at a coffee shop with a guy, do you see that as a desirable trait, or is that something that you would be pushed away from or unattracted to?
Well, this is, I think, an amazing question for you to ask right now, because at least knowing my own answer, it's about to reinforce how good this is, what you've broken through and what you're seeing within yourself. Because for me, there truly is nothing more attractive to me than a man who's super vulnerable, and he can like share his truth, but at the same time also stand in his masculine power. But it's like the times when...
And also hear yours.
And hear yours too, But the times I've seen a man get vulnerable, like, I couldn't be more attractive. Like, I don't care about anything else going on in the world. I am, like, zeroed in. I'm like, okay, I'm listening. Tell me more. I'm connecting with your soul. This is amazing. You know, it's like, I almost feel that I can't get enough. And I've done a lot of radical honesty retreats, and I've held some of my own, and I can attest to just like the second that a man especially gets to the bottom of that deep stuff that's really him, and he's not trying to hide anything, he's not trying to look a certain way, he's just real, it's like everybody is just like, oh, like even the guys think he's like the man, you know? It's like, is a very attractive.
Confidence is like, it's seductive, but it's kind of like intoxicating. But for me, it's a deal breaker. It's a complete deal breaker. If you're not that way, then I'm not gonna like hang out with you or continue to date you. And that's why I need, like, it's important for me to be around people that are psychologically aware. You don't have to be perfect, but you just have to, you know, be aware of yourself and be wanting, desire to evolve is super. And part of the desire to evolve is being vulnerable and being like, hey, this is coming up for me right now. And being in a space where you could talk about that with someone. And that's the best thing about relationships, is being in like an intimate partnership with someone where you could just be like, hey, like, here's my growing edge right now, and help me work through that, and then here's, you know, what's yours, and then just evolving on that level is super important. And you could tell when someone's being authentic, and when someone's, I mean, because we're attractive girls. I've heard everything. I've heard guys say everything under, you know what I mean? They'll say, oh yeah, man, I'm like so spiritual, you know what, but like, you can tell. I'm so deep, but you can tell when it's real. And like, I just absolutely require that in anyone I'm dealing with, but especially like anyone that I'm dating, for sure.
It's funny, I have this thirst for depth, I have this thirst for connection, and I really, I'm like Cyclops, right? The Marvel character. I have this like power that I'm trying to figure out how to use the glasses to control, you know? And I went on a date last week, right? With this beautiful girl in Charlotte. Lovely girl, right? But she said to me at one point, we were having this conversation, and I don't deal well with superficiality, right? Like, I don't exist in that plane. And so I talk about control. Like, I was directing the narrative into, I want to get in deeper. Tell me, expose yourself, really. And she was not having that, right? And at one point, her emotional reaction, because I could feel she was probably getting tired of, or didn't want to talk about some of the things I was talking about. She goes to me, "You're really heavy. You know that?" And I was like, "Oh,
you should say thank you."
At that point, I was like, "Yo, check, please." But No, it's interesting because I think that even women at times have a hard time being vulnerable to men and matching men in that place. So I think as I continue to raise my standards for myself in my life, I'm going to have to continue to raise the standards of the women that I'm bringing into my life as like love interests, right? And I have to keep moving the tier together and balancing them. So I guess it's going to be an art. There's maybe some mathematics involved in it, and it's just going to be a process. So.
Yeah, I would say too, like something that I've adopted for myself is that like the going out to dinner is usually not my ideal way of ever getting to know somebody. Like if I think I may be potentially interested in somebody as a mate for life, like I want to get them like in the woods camping. Like I want to go traveling
on a
with
first
them.
date.
Yeah. I want to see the real them. Like I'm not messing around. I just want to get down. Like I don't want to sit with you and hear like your story of who you are. Like I want to see it. I want to see you in a tough situation, and I want to see what happens, and I want to see if you can get vulnerable, and I want to see if you can break through your stuff. Like that's my qualifications for a
I like doing that. I like doing that, but I disagree because, okay, so I love food. I love to cook. I love all of those things, but it's not about, but it's like the way people, because there's a reason that we celebrate with food. We do things with, so I think I always watch like how people eat. I watch how, like, what the guy is saying, like how, because I don't ask superficial questions. So when I'm on a date with someone, we're like getting deep, you know what I mean? And so like, and I mean, I've had guys like, come on a date. I think it was 2 weeks ago, and this guy's like, I think you're too smart for me. Like, straight up. He was like, you're super hot, but I think he was just like, I can't teach you anything. It was so funny, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I really like that emotional connection of looking someone in the eye and experiencing just sitting there with them, because a lot of times I'm like super active, and it's easy for me to like go run around and like like that's my comfort zone. So like just being kind of like in my feminine and like looking me in the eye and just being like, okay, like tell me about yourself. Like who is this soul sitting in front of me is so much more important to me. I don't know, like it's just interesting how we have like different, because I'm the total opposite. Like
I think that's really cool, you know, and I don't know how many of your listeners or your viewers are kind of looking to find someone or, you know, reaching for someone, but I've been single for 2 years now, and for the longest amount of time, once I became comfortable with being single and ready to date, I was searching and looking and trying to find, right? And over the last, I'd say, I guess since the podcast began, I started walking in my truth. I started really chasing my dream and being full of the universal energy that you get supplied with. I call it the wave, or I termed it this weekend as like your own personal magic. Mm-hmm. Once I started walking and becoming a sorcerer of my own magic, like I become a beacon, and I just situations and women that I feel more attracted to. I know it's cliche, but they present themselves, and you know, when you were chasing it, you never find it, but when you just be it, and when you just are it, I think somehow you become magnetic. So for any of you out there that might be chasing a little bit or might be running to try to find it, maybe just take a second, go inward, become real confident in yourself and in your values, and operate within those for a second, and you know, maybe you might have a little more success.
Yeah, and you know what? That's true for attracting a partner or money. Like if you want money, vibrate abundance, vibrate prosperity, whatever you want. If you're seeking something, it's probably because you think that there's a dearth of it in yourself, or there's something about it that you admire. So vibrate that first, and it'll come running towards you. It's just, it sounds so simple. It's kind of hard, but it's so true. So yeah.
Yeah, I really like the quote recently that I've been hearing a lot. It's been popping up everywhere because now it's in my vibrational surroundings. It says, you know, everybody normally says, I'll believe it when I see it, but we flip it around to be, when I believe it.
You'll see it when you believe it. You'll see it when you believe it.
When I believe it, I'll see it.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah, and I just think it's like, you have to like believe it and feel it inside, and then it just comes. And then it just shows up. You're just not even looking for it, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, that's exactly what I asked for.
I can't wait for that moment, man. That'll be great. But in the meantime, focusing on creating space and trying to make an impact in the community in anywhere that I can bring aha moments or promote someone to ignite their path of personal development. I think that is where the key lies, and everything else will figure itself out from there.
And you know what, Wes, what I do appreciate, and I just want to say again, I was telling Steph about, is that I feel like a lot of people that are, doing their thing, a podcast or whatever, are in some form of scarcity. And I just really appreciated, like, you don't know us, and then, we're just from Instagram, like we're just kind of connecting on Instagram, and you're like, hey, I want to do whatever I can to like help you, because I like that. It wasn't about like, okay, like I have this amount of followers, you have this. It was just kind of like, hey, let's raise each other's vibration or whatever, like thing that we're doing. So
one of my business models and my core values is collaboration is key, right? And I believe that service is the reason that we are here, right? We have this innate responsibility, this universal responsibility to continue to raise the quality of this existence. So for me, this is the new age of communication, right? Social media it's like a spider web, right? And when you touch another individual, you get access to their spider web, and you can continue to grow your level of perception and your impact. And if you're doing it for the right reasons, then there should be no one who is above or below you. It should just be all a level platform. And there's going to be an opportunity for you to come on to creating space and to continue this conversation from a different narrative, right? And we can dive into how you two have gotten to the point that you are today. But I think for anyone listening who is worried so much about what they can get and how they can make more money and how they can get more followers, I think it's just the same way that we were talking earlier. It's just more about what can you do, how can you impact, how can you influence, and then everything else, literally the universe just kind of gets out of your way and things just happen, and you have to trust that. To go back to the trust aspect, to bring this back full circle, I think it's just trusting that your magic is your magic, and if you step into your magic, you become more powerful than you'll ever believe. And I hope that someone believes that out there listening to this.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. And we always try to talk about a book on our show, and I just love to read, but I cannot stop talking about this book. I've mentioned it to you twice, The Surrender Experiment. It's the same guy that wrote The Untethered Soul, Michael A. Singer. And read it. I'm probably going to read it again. I just feel like a different person. I don't say that about, I read maybe like 4 books a month, and like I don't say that about many books, but this book is just exactly what Wes was just talking about.
How about we do this? How about we do a book swap? Because I'm reading a book right now from Gabrielle Bernstein called The Universe Has Your Back. And I'm about finished with it. Okay. So what if I get your mailing address and we swap books, and then maybe that's a little bit about what we talk about on Creating Space, just sharing the information, sharing the knowledge, and seeing how we can impact direction by collaboration. Maybe that's a direction we can unravel there.
Let's do it. I'll send you a copy of it. Boom.
I love it.
Sucks being creative. I hate it, dude.
You hate what? What did you say?
Being creative.
Oh, I know. Isn't it horrible?
It's a total joke. Just kidding. But I think that would be dope.
Well, that's awesome. I love it.
Wes, again, tell everyone where they could find you on all the platforms.
Yeah, awesome. So I exist pretty consistently along social media. So Twitter and Instagram, you can find me at Wesley T. Knight. I go Facebook Live a few times a week, and that's expanding as Facebook Live expands. You can find me there at facebook.com/Wes.Knight. And my podcast is on Audio Boom. It is on iTunes, and we're about to slither into Spotify here pretty soon, which is going to be really cool. So we're growing, we're scaling, and I would love for you guys to hit me with some feedback and hit me with some suggestions of people that are doing cool things in life, and I'll go get them, and we'll have a convo.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would definitely suggest to everyone who's watching, especially ladies, if you're in the morning, you're doing your hair, you're doing your makeup, it's one of the best times to put on Wes's podcast and get yourself like in the right mindset for the day.
That's exactly what I did.
I definitely have the voice for radio and the face for radio. So,
oh, stop. That's a limiting belief.
Limiting belief. Yeah. Yeah, and we want to thank you so much again just for like going through this journey and sharing it, because there's so many men and women, but like a lot of guys who are going to listen to this and watch it, and they're just going to be like, oh my gosh, like I don't have to be like super, like Superman at like everything. Like I get to be vulnerable, and it's going to be...
Which makes you Superman.
Allow me the opportunity, my cup is full, it's running over from the weekend, and allow me the opportunity to flip that script and pour a little gratitude on the two of you. I think what you're doing is cool. I think what you're doing is empowering. I think that you two are a great balance of each other, and which will expand your market in a unique way, because you can hit things and topics and conversations from two different angles. So I encourage you to keep going, to do things that you may think in the back of your mind might not make sense, but that's fear trying to convince you of your trying to convince you that you don't have magic. Push through that. Last night, before I put up my Mindset Monday, I almost quit because I couldn't find the space. And the moment I decided to trust myself and just, instead of writing my Mindset Monday, to just hit the record button and just let it fly, I've been getting so much feedback today about how powerful and authentic it was, that I want to send that to you too. When you're feeling most overwhelmed, just go. Just make the decision to just go, and you'll surprise yourself every single time.
Thank you, Wes.
I think most of like our shows where we don't plan it out too much are some of the best.
Yeah, so. I agree. I definitely agree.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. And for anybody watching, you can always find us on Facebook, and our episodes are always up on YouTube, so you can binge watch Fat Girl Fitness, Fat Girl Friday, and make sure you join our private Facebook community, which is called Fat Girl Fitness Family with a PH, and that's where we share private videos with our group. We would love to see you there. Thank you again, Wes. This has been a blast, and we look forward to the next time we get to chat on Skype and over the phone.
Yeah, we're creating space. Hey, both of you have a great rest of your day, and AC Slaters, everyone.
Bye, Wes.